Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of Founder Stories. I am super excited that you are here today to join us on this incredible journey of listening to the story of an incredible founder. Today, we have the absolute honor to host my dear friend, Tomer Tagrin, CEO and co-founder of Yotpo. Now, instead of going into their traditional introduction of telling you about Yotpo, telling you about Tomer, I am going to allow you to listen to Tomer himself and let him do the introduction that you want to hear. And he'll tell you all about his story, the company Yotpo, and why I personally find this conversation top 5 conversations I have ever recorded. And I can guarantee you this, that if you listen through all the way to the end, this conversation is going to change your life. Now, without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Tomer. My dear friend Tomer, thank you really, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Really, thank you. I'm excited.
Same. Likewise, it's been a real honor. Wow. I'm even ready. Just from our previous conversation before this, I'm very excited to see what's going to come up. But I want to start off to frame the conversation this way. You were, unfortunately, diagnosed with cancer twice in your life.
Yes.
You almost faced death, from my understanding?
Yes. Stage 4 out of 4.
Stage 4 out of 4?
Yes,
Wow.
Yes.
So thank God, knock.
Thank God, yes.
That you're healthy, everything's gone away.
Yes.
But I want to understand, going through two times, not once, and stage 4 and facing death twice, how has that changed your perspective on life? And how do you view life now? Every day you wake up in the morning, tell me all about that.
Wow. I'm not sure we have enough time, but I'll start mumbling and you feel free to cut me in the middle. So first, thank you for having me. It really is, I'm excited about it. I think the cancer, so for the first time it happened, I'll try to give everyone some context. So I'm 35 years old, 2 kids living in the Upper East Side, just moving to the Upper West Side, running a company, traveling a lot. I was never a fat person, but I was very unhealthy in terms of I used to eat a Kinder Bueno for lunch. I used to drink a lot. I used to not sleep a lot. I was just living the Western life in its fullness, let's call it. But overall, all good. Happy with the kids, happy with the company. And I started having back pains, but severe back pain. And another thing, I'm an hypochondriac. So I went to many doctors, everything, no one found what it is. And then I won't tell the full story, but to make a long story short, there was a bump coming out here. I went to the ENT, told me it's suspicious lymphoma. And then in 2 weeks time, it was a very fast pace to the fact that one, I had lymphoma cancer, stage 4 out of 4. We got to my bones, my kidneys, my stomach, my lung, actually to the fluid of my brain. It was very, very advanced. And I thought I'm going to come back to Israel because I want to do the treatments near my family. And it was winter. It was September 2019. And what happened is basically my oncologist told me that I need to start chemo today. And I'm what? What did you just say? I didn't even say goodbye for my kids. And it was very, very sudden. And I remember chemo is a very scary thing. And another thing, I had phobia from needles. Even till today, when I do a blood test, I get anxious I'm going to have birth or something like that. And I started having chemo. A very aggressive chemo, and then because it also got to the liquid of my spine and brain, I needed to go to 6 cycles of regular chemo, 6 cycles of the special chemo, let's call it. Did a scan, of course, told the company, everyone stepped up. It was great. My kids were relatively very, very young, so they weren't that affected. Did a scan, was clean, and then came back. We actually acquired a company while I was pitching them with no eyebrows, no hair on my face. And when I came back, to be honest, I came back different, but not that different. And then everything went back to normal, started walking again. We actually preparing for a big event, and then they tell me that the cancer is back and my wife is pregnant. like 5 months. And in my lymphoma, when the cancer is back, you need to go through a bone marrow transplant, which is like a great phrase for the most aggressive chemo known to men. And that's the nightmare of my life. So, and I know already that I'm not going to see my kids for 5-6 months. I know that my wife is going to give birth alone and I'm not going to be there. I know that the company, it was COVID days, which on one end was like good because for e-com it was great, but a lot of uncertainty. And that process, I think, profoundly changed my life. Like that was in bone marrow transplant, because it erases your immune system. They say you have like a second birthday. So originally I was born in July 22nd, but my second birthday is January 18th. And I really think I was reborn. Today you're meeting like a very person after like a very big PTSD. So you ask like, how do I have perspective and how do I view the world, or how do I wake up in the morning? So every morning I wake up, I meditate for like 20 minutes and I say a lot of thank you for, maybe I'll stay back. I'll tell you like a good story on perspective, I think. So I came back to the company after the bone marrow transplant, and the market crashed, and it was like a big problem. And I remember coming back to a board meeting, and the management says, okay, this is a challenge. I stop and say, this is an opportunity. Challenge, opportunity. And we finished the board call. I get a call from our lead investor, and for me, it's like, my older brother, Adam Fisher from Bessemer, told me, hey, Tomer, it's so great that you're back. Like, how come you're so optimistic? Like, where's the energy coming from? And I told them a story that during the bone marrow transplant, you get like a main line at your heart. And because it's it's connected to your heart, it's very, very dangerous that it's going to get contaminated because your immune system is basically zero. So when you take a shower, you put like a patch on it. And long story short, I didn't wash my left armpit for like 3 months. And I remember like they took it off, and it was like a week or a few days before the board, I took a regular shower. Like the water just flew on me and not like that. And I started crying. And I cried. And I remember that I went to the bed and I slept on my stomach. And I started crying because I couldn't sleep on my stomach for 4 months. And for me, it was like super hard because I'm like a kid. I'm used to sleep on my stomach. And till today, I try through gratitude and just like remind myself that, the simple life, I can go to a restaurant and not afraid to die, that I couldn't eat outside for like a year. They wouldn't let me. So many like, and let's call obvious things, I still try to practice and say, thank you that I can walk my dog. Thank you that I can play with my kid. Thank you that I can be with like amazing people in this company. So I think it's definitely profoundly changed my perspective on my relationship with my body. So I exercise every day. I don't eat processed sugar. I do ice bath, like a severe PTSD. Maybe I took it too much to the extreme, but like I have like all of a sudden relationship with my body, understanding my unconsciousness and what really triggers me, and truly putting me on a different, I think, growth trajectory. It changed who I am as a father. It changed who I am as a husband. It changed who I am as a CEO, who I am as a son, as a friend. Like it's I think like knock on wood, if it doesn't come back, it made me like a much better version of myself. And it brings a lot of new colors to life, maybe that previously I just didn't have, or I didn't understand. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. You started with the big questions immediately, so we went deep.
Were you afraid of dying?
So at the first time, no, because I'm like a fighter. So the first time you say, yeah, I'm gonna beat that. So to be honest, not even for a second. Okay. And despite the fact that like my chances weren't good enough, and unfortunately now I like a lot of people come to me when they have cancer stories. So it happens like in every given time I help with I try to help to 2, 3, 4 patients that are going through that journey. And I keep telling them that my chances were lower than 30% of survival when I started. And I didn't afraid of dying because I think that's my character, was like fight mode. The second time when it came back, it's different. It's like you feel like you're punching water. And then I had for 72 hours, I had a panic attack, I think, where I just couldn't turn the voices of my head off. And I started like writing letters for my kids, making videos, start to think about like bad things, like really dark places. And thank God for my therapist and for my wife and like my oncologist, I was able like to get into the rhythm of like functioning again. But I had like 72 hours that were like very, very dark. But besides that, overall, I don't know why I wasn't and I knew other patients in the hospital, and you see like a priest coming all of a sudden, because I was treated here in MSK in Memorial Sloan Kettering, so you see like people then. I don't know why I thought I knew I'm going to survive it, and knock on wood, by the way, I'm still like in every 6 months, I still have a scan, so I'm not like done yet. But I trust my body much more now. But yes, so 72 hours, I was like really, really scared. For the rest, I'm sure I was, but I'm probably not depressing it or something like that.
Wow. But what were the conversations with your wife? I mean, forget about the board and the company, because that's really irrelevant when it comes to such a thing like this. But like, what did you and your wife discuss at this period of time?
So first, my wife is like a true superhero. Okay. Like I can tell you, she's like one of the strongest people I ever met. The first time she was at the beginning of denial, both of us. Mm-hmm. So she was like, she ran the house. She had like 2 little babies. She's walking. She had like a lot. And I really tried to push her away. Actually, I felt very, very guilty that the cancer is like affecting her. And I wanted like for her to have like regular life. Yeah. I don't know how I thought I can do that, but so I actually pushed her to do stuff, to be social, and she was like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" So I think the first time we were both on kind of denial. When I came back home, then we had like a hard time because each one of us were like PTSD. Mm-hmm. And each one with a different trauma. Yeah. So we didn't fully understand what's going on. And then we started like going to therapy, and I actually think we became much closer. The second time, she was just like a superwoman. You see like someone with like a pregnant belly, calling the teachers of our kids, telling them like what's going on, organizing me, my medicine, like treating me a lot. And the conversation was like, I'm going to take care of myself and you need to take care of the rest. Because like both of us need just to perform at the moment. Mm-hmm. And everyone had like a crazy 2022. I think we had like, I don't know, a very different 2022 from most families, thanks God. And I think a lot of the conversation went on like the ability to be vulnerable. And like actually, if each one of us is scared, or if one of us is just like, don't have the mental strength, and we try to lift one another. And surprisingly, again, when I came back home after 6 months, that was like the tougher period, because it took us time, because we also had like a new baby. So it took us time to gel well. It felt like I'm playing, jazz, and she was playing disco, and it took us time to find our own rhythm.
Interesting. Has this like, is this still an event that is like constantly present in your life, in the sense of like the introspection and the thinking about it and everything around there? It's not just, or is it something that like, okay, you went through this, and therefore the first like few months afterwards, it's like everyone's coming around, surrounding you and offering you help, and your relationship is good, and you forgot about it? Or is it something that's still relevant in your life now?
It's a great question. So first, it's really, really relevant, and I'll tell you a story in a second how much it surprised me. But it's relevant, because like, stuff happens when my stomach hurts. Is it the cancer, or I just ate something bad? So it's very much like the trauma and the anxiety is definitely with me. The other thing is like, I don't want to lose it. This is why every day I'm meditating. I'm like reminding myself what's important, the perspective in life, and to always remember what's really, really important. Because one thing, it gives you like in very black and white what's important. So I can tell you like 6 months ago, I had an important scan, and I didn't understand it's important scan, and it's not like me. Like I'm a geek, so everything I need to understand, I asked like a bunch of questions, every doctor, like I really have an oncologist by now. And I had a scan, and so I go to MSK, and before my doctor comes, always is the nurse, she comes, she tells you the news, good or bad. And she examines you, and then the doctor comes in. And it's a very anxious moment because that was the room. That's my hell and heaven. It's the room where I was sentenced to life, and it's the room where I was sentenced to death. And it's a very, all your PTSD comes up. So I walk, like my wife sits on her phone, and I walk from side to side. And then the nurse come in, and she said, like, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. I'm so happy for you, and so happy. And it troubled me because I didn't understand, like, I understood I had like a good scan, but I didn't understand the magnitude of the event because I passed the 2 years. So once you pass the 2 years, you get to a different cohort. So now I need to pass the 5 years to get to the next cohort. And she told me, you had a good scan. I'm so happy for you. And she stepped out of the room. And before the doctor came, I started crying. And unfortunately, I'm not a person that cries a lot. I wish I could cry more. And I started crying. Like, I melted. I couldn't like stop myself. And me and my wife, we both like didn't understand what's going on. And and then retrospective, I understood how much this event is, this journey is still like affecting my life in such a meaningful way that, yes, it's probably besides my kids, my kids and my wife, probably like I don't know, the most influential thing, the most painful thing, the most, I don't know, the biggest growth experience I will ever have.
Wow. So then why even run a company? Like, you could do so many things that are more meaningful. You know how important time is.
Yeah.
You know how things can change in a second. Like, why even bother running Yotpo?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. So the second time the cancer came back, my mother asked me, is this job killing you? Do you want to come back? And after like 30 hours of therapy and probably 300 hours with myself, I decided I do want to come back because this company for me, it's, again, besides my kids, it's my life's project. And I love the people here. Like the people here, I get like so much energy, so much meaning from. And Yotpo for me became like a platform to do the stuff I want to do. So we volunteer, we donate, I help people, become the best version of themselves. And that I think, at least now at my journey, you understand that the more you grow, that eventually life's meaning is about being a servant to others. Right. And for me now, at least being servant to others, it's not about running a company. It's about like having like phenomenal people here that, we're able to help them be better. We help them with, new position or growth opportunities they never think they're going to have. We help them with like a financial freedom from time to time. We really make a difference on their life. And I find for that like really deep meaning. And also for our customers, like I love e-commerce. I love the brands. So I love it. To tell you if this is the last thing I'm going to do with my life, I'm not sure. Okay. But definitely for me, Yotpo, it's more than a company. It's a platform to fulfill what I want to do. So I'll give you another example. I love innovation and technology. I love it. And the fact that in Yotpo, I can have like a playground that, we can have the intersection of business, which I love, technology, and like true customer problems. I love. This is why in Yotpo we have like multiple products. Yeah. We just launched like a new startup coming out of Yotpo. We are building a new technology. I love it. I get like a lot of joy from it. But it's a great question. I'm not sure I have like a great answer yet.
There's no good answer. It's more about reflection and just thinking about it. You mentioned before that you're a fighter by nature. Is this something that you were as a child too? Like, what were the types of values and principles that your parents instilled in you? What was like growing up? What was growing up in the Tagrin household in Israel?
Oh, wow. I need my brother and sister here to give a better answer. But I think we had like a great family, meaning I grew up in like a very supportive mother and father. And they really like, my father was the head of the Boy Scout. My mother was like the head of HSA, or I don't know how to say it in English, the parents committee at school. And so very loved. That's one. I played tennis all my life. So I was like, until the age of, I think, 13 or 12, I was like 6 in Israel. And tennis took like a very meaningful place in my life. I used to practice like 6, 7, 8 times a week. So I became very competitive. And a lot of my coaches, like, there's no quitting. It's only like keep on trying. And I think for me, what happened is I'm actually able to make it work, meaning like I was able to overachieve, and I fell in love with like overachieving and fighting, and there's no like there wasn't no quitting. I think it's less my parents. It's just how I grew up. I had like, so I'm the middle kid. I had like an older brother and a younger sister that actually much more talented than I am. Okay. My brother was always like much smarter, but he wasn't like a typical older brother. He always said how much I'm better than him, which wasn't the case, but he really gave me a place to dream big and to think I can achieve whatever I want to achieve. And I think I had like no limits, I didn't feel boundaries growing up. So I think for me, that was like really, really important. I also have like, my mother is an entrepreneur. She had like insurance businesses she sold. So that was also very much ingrained in the company, in the family life. I didn't grow up with like for money. Like my mother and my parents were successful, but only at a much older age. So that's also was we didn't like miss anything. I always felt that I have like everything I want in the world and more. And they gave us that feeling that, we have everything and everything is needed. A very joyful, like I always like sense of humor is something that I use a lot. I always say in Yotpo, if someone takes themselves too seriously, not a great fit for us, because I really think you need to smile at the world and the world will smile back at you. And I had like, I think today my sister is one of my closest people in the world, one of my best friends. So family was a very strong thing for us. Like the sentence my mother and father kept telling us, the most important thing in life is family. So for me, that was like really, really big. And just like taking chances, taking risks. I always tell investors that I'm probably the most risk-averse entrepreneur they met. Just what most people define risk, I don't define it risky. But the things I actually think are risky, I try to like really, really avoid.
Right. So how are you installing the family principles that you receive from your parents and into your own family life? You know, you have, thank God, a beautiful family, a bunch of little rascals running around. And
so 3 boys. It's still hard because, boys, it's like, how was school? Okay. What did you do? Don't remember. So it's very much, we usually all play soccer or tennis or like a very active house. We are the family you don't want to invite for Friday dinners because they're like mayhem going on. But I really try to spend a lot of time with them. I travel a lot, but when I'm there, I keep reminding myself it's less about the quantity of time, it's more about the quality of time. So when I'm with them, I really try to be with them, and I really try to explain to them that like family is the most important thing. So I'm very repetitive on that, and we always try to do stuff together as a family, even though they don't love it always, but we try. And I think you lead by example. They see how I'm close to my family, how my wife's close to her family, and living, by the way, outside of Israel, when all of our families in Israel, it's very, very tough.
Right. It's funny. I was listening to a podcast recently, also from a family psychologist, and she was saying that instead of asking your kids when you come home from school that day, like, "Oh, how was your day?" Because you're gonna get the answer like you said, "Oh, it was good. Fine. You went to play soccer, whatever it was." She said, "Ask your kids what was your most happiest moment of the day."
Yeah, I just read it. Oh, really? And a book. Yeah, I just read it. I'm gonna try it. Right. So I used to do with them when they were younger, but that was a mistake. They were too young. Like every day before they go to bed, I always ask them what was the pickle moment of the day and what's like the lollipop moment of the day, and like the good and bad. And they were too young, but now I'm actually going to try it. Actually, 2 days ago. Yes, I will. I'm actually going to try it.
We have to talk about Yotpo, even though we could talk about your life forever. I think there's so many lessons to learn from there, and there's so many things that I'm really inspired and wowed by. Yotpo was founded in 2011.
Yes.
You were 26 years old then?
Yes.
26?
Very young.
You currently, right now, if you look back, there's 14 years. You have how many employees now?
850-ish, something like that.
How much money have you raised?
Roughly like $400 million, but like 250 that went into the company, like 250, yeah.
Okay, roughly $3.5 billion valuation.
No, the last valuation was 1.6 billion.
I forgot you're not cyber.
Yes, exactly. So, and kudos to the Wiz team today. By the way, the announcement came out phenomenal. Just a huge proud to Israel. Yes.
Yes, sorry. Very. Thank God. When you look back now, Was this something you ever imagined?
No. So at the beginning, me and Omri, the other co-founder, we used to work from my apartment, and we had I printed a large check of $1 million, and we said our dream is to have $1 million in the bank. And we never dreamt to go so far. I think what Omri and myself are very, very similar. It really is that growth trajectory is, okay, we reached here, what's next? Okay, we reached there, what's next? And it's always the next thing and next thing and next thing. It's there's no end goal, it's only evolving.
Right.
But we never imagined, we were always much more the people of progress over perfection. And no, we never imagined to get to where we are. I'm very, very thankful for him. I'm very, very thankful for the journey. And there's also when you see here flamingos here in the office, right? So the flamingo is in the last fundraising round we did. I had a joke with investors that despite our unicorn valuation, we are building a flamingo, a real animal and a real business to provide real value to customers over time. It started as a joke and humility, and it became the content framework of our culture. Right. And I think there is a good sentence that valuations, employees, those are the wrong things to talk about. There's a sentence that says that never measure a man by the peaks of the height he got into,
right,
but by the journey he walked together.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot about the journey, and it's a lot, phenomenal people, the fact that I think now it's 14 startups from founders that are ex-Yotpo employees. You have people here that's I've been to Israel 2 months ago for the company kickoff, and we did a night for everyone that's with us for more than 7 years. And I thought that 7 people are going to show up. It was 37 people.
Wow.
And that's amazing. It's people, some people are with us for 11, 12, 10, 9, 8 years. I've seen them as single teenagers, even in a sense. Now they're parents. It's an unbelievable journey.
Wow.
Truly.
Were there moments throughout the time that you just wanted to throw in the towel? It was big oh shit moments. That's it. This thing is done. It's over.
So I don't know if it's done or over. Definitely, it's a very tough challenge, journey. Sorry, I think any growth is very, very painful.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you grow from pain. So we had and still having our share moment of very painful moments. And there are moments we have anxiety. There are moments of a lot of insecurity. A lot of moments are I don't know, let's take a few examples. Cancer and COVID hits together. And you're what? What I'm going to do? Or when a few key people you feel that are not there, or you see your competitors are doing that. But I think, things are never as bad or as good as we think. Learning to control our emotions and our mind is probably the most important thing for any leadership position. So I don't think I never thought of throwing the towel, to be honest. You just have your good days, your bad days. And yes, definitely Yotpo has share of amazing good days and unbelievable tough days as well.
What do you do on the tough days?
What I'm doing on the tough days. So usually on the tough days, I talk. I need to vent out, and thank God I have amazing leadership. Asaf, our COO, Amichai that leads our product, or Rona in HR, Tzvika marketing, Avichai, many people that I'm talking to them. Our board, we have on our board an amazing group of people that's been a huge supportive network for me. I talk to my therapist. I recently also started working with a coach. So I have many supportive function in my life that helps me. And my wife is another big one actually. And I, try to remind myself that yes, it's most of the time where it's tough, it's tougher because of my own personal emotions.
Yeah.
And I try to, that's I think the journey.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty.
I firmly agree with that. You talk about your therapist I want to talk about your therapist for a second. Was therapy something you went to only after you had cancer, or something before during the founder journey?
Yeah, so first, I was a very problematic kid. So while growing up, I'm used to talking to therapists. But no, I didn't went to, after the trauma, he's specialized in trauma. Okay. So after the first cancer, I was searching for a therapist because I needed to digest what the hell went through. And so he was instrumental, and he's still instrumental in my journey. But for me, therapy, like I think any person, by the way, anyone that hears that, the best gift you can give to yourself is someone that you can talk to and open up and be vulnerable and really be vulnerable, and someone that can really help you, because I think everyone needs help to figuring out themselves.
Correct.
And I'll just share one sentence. My coach is actually someone that's, on one hand, he works with like public CEOs and like a very successful people. On the other hand, is a Buddhist monk.
Okay.
And when we met for the first time, he wanted like 2 hours on a Friday. So we go Friday, 4 p.m. And then like I see someone, he had like a necklace and he's like Indian, my age. And I thought like, what I'm doing here? But something in me said, just like go with the flow. And then I remember I was talking about my journey. Then he talked about my journey. And while he was talking, I got so intrigued. I thought like, wow, it's amazing. It's on one hand, like combining like capitalism, because he knows like ARR, NRR, CAC, all of that. On the other hand, he's a Buddhist monk. That's amazing. And for me, like with all of my spirituality that opened up through the cancer. And then I asked him like, so what is coaching? Like I never done it. It's starting to feel similar to therapy, but what is it? And then he gave me one of the most amazing sentences I heard in my life. He told me, it's not coaching, it's growing. And growing is understanding your ego so you can put it aside to become the man you can become. And it's crazy that a person that, works with like amazing CEOs, not Tomer, not a level above Tomer, like 2 levels above Tomer. I find myself spending time about like, how am I as a parent? Who am I as like a husband? And truly like, and before we talked, before this, in the previous conversation, I told him what reminded me of that, because he asked me like, why are you here? And I told him like 2 reasons. One, I feel a lot of time that I'm the bottleneck of Yotpo, and I want to be like a better CEO. And second, I always try to grow and be like better. And then he told me, Tomer, and I told him I want to be the best leader I can. And he told me it's the opposite. Like, it's an inside out process, meaning you need to become a better human being. Right. It's about values. And by becoming a better human being, you're becoming a better leader. So I think like, that's for me like very, very impactful. And the fact that I have on one end like a therapist that's very, the psychology wise, and the other front, that's someone that's much more spiritual, for me in the last 2.5 years, has put me like on a different growth trajectory, different mindset.
Break it down for me. What exactly is the mindset and what is the growth trajectory? Now, I don't want to focus on the professional side. I want to focus on the personal side, you as a person.
So first is understanding, I think, what you really want to achieve in life. I think that's what most people miss. What you really want to do. Okay. And not what society says, not what you think you should do, what your soul really want to do. Okay. And how do you get to that? And it's a very, very tough question. I don't think I have my own personal answer, but I'm really trying to figure that out. And what does it mean to be happy? When are you happy and why are you happy? Second thing is like understanding yourself. Who are you? What triggers you? What doesn't trigger you? And how it affects you? Like, why do I find myself like worry about like certain things and not about other things? Why I see other people like, get the same news and interpreted it very different from me. Who am I as a person? And then, okay, if that's after starting to get into that journey, how I can be the best version of myself. And I think that's, at least for me, the trajectory. And what does it mean to be the best version of yourself? First, it means you really need to take care of yourself in order to be in like peak performance. So like your body, your state of mind, how do you do that? How do you get yourself in a way that you can actually have time to do that? How do you improve? How do you grow? How do you learn? How do you like spend the time to and invest in growth? So for me, it's about like I have a very rigid schedule in the mornings. I have a very rigid schedule at nights, and in between I walk. I really try to learn a lot. I really try to have like a system, actually, like sets of rules. I'll give you another great story that I love. So you know what blue oceans are? So there's a book about the guy that with the Netflix series that he wrote the book about blue ocean. For those of you who don't know, blue oceans are like the places in the world where people are like the most healthiest, they live the longest. So he spent like 17 years in the blue oceans. And when he came back, he did like an experiment in the US. He took like, I think it was like 100,000 people, divided into 2 groups. One group, he put like he took the toaster and put it on the counter. The other group, he took the toaster and put it in the drawer. After I think 6 months, the difference is 4 pounds between the two groups. And the moral lesson here is that you can go and train someone to fight their willpower. That every time they go to the kitchen, they see the toaster, they want a toast, and teach them to fight it. You can. Much easier, put the toaster in the drawer and solve that systematically. So I'm a big believer in solving things systematically. Don't decide, do I gonna walk out today? I'm not gonna walk out today. Just decide I'm gonna walk out every day. And that's it. You have zero energy going towards that, because I'm not a believer in willpower. I think if you need to invest energy every time, it means that you don't have the right system. So for me, be the best version first is understanding what I want to do. Second is take care of myself and putting myself in a position that I can actually grow. Right. Then is having the right system and sets of rules, and that change. I can change that and having the right goals and system. I have a very strong why. I think a lot of people really focus on the how. Mm-hmm. How I'm going to go to the gym, how I'm going to make time to my kids. But that's the wrong exercise. The right exercise is go back to the why. If you have a strong why, the how become really, really easy. And my why is the strongest. I don't want to die. I've been there. So it's so strong. Maybe now it's a bit more evolved to I also love it. I am performing better. Mm-hmm. I have more energy. I feel better. So it's more about I can grow more. But at the beginning, yes, of course. I'm my wife always tell how can all my friends from back home when I came back to Israel? So we're going to do barbecue and all of them are going to eat a bunch of stuff. And I'm the person again that used to eat Kinder Bueno for lunch. I won't touch anything. And it's super easy for me. I'm not even trying. Why? Because I have a very strong why. So I think for me, that's at least my journey. I try to have, a very strong why, put myself in an optimal position for growth, mm-hmm. and have the right system and sets of rules to make it easier for me. And maybe the last point for me is also surrounding myself with people that are pushing me forward. Jeff Bezos has a great sentence that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I just always try to take the average down and spend time with people that are really taking me higher in my, spiritual journey, my work journey. It doesn't matter what it is. Wow. My fatherhood journey, but I'm very intentional about it.
Wow. Would you recognize a Tomer before everything?
No, if Tomer was pre-cancer, was sitting here, you used to tell me who the hell is that guy? I don't know who it is, but it's not me. So I was really reborn. It took me time to understand that, but it profoundly changed my life. I am a different human being, for good and bad. Probably a lot of good, a lot of bad as well. Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm a much more happier human being today.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. When you move to the company for a second, how do you think about brand and building a brand? Because you look at Yotpo now is becoming a very strong brand.
Yes.
Within the e-commerce space and also everything related to shopping and all that. Was the brand always a core focus when building the company, or is it something that happened recently over the past few years?
Yeah, so actually it's another great story. So Yotpo,
you're full of great stories.
I love storytelling. It's Steve Jobs, right? The most influential people in the world are the storytellers. So one of my still today best friends, his name is Omer. He was with us for 10, 11 years. He was our head of marketing for many, many, many years. And I think for years, Yotpo, we didn't build a brand. We didn't know. We became known actually as a reviews company, actually not great product, maybe too aggressive on price. Mm-hmm. We didn't build a great brand. And actually only when I came back we said, okay, you know what? We stop chasing short-term goals. Let's actually build a brand. And we understand brand is a long-term effort. And I keep telling Omer that's not with us that I wish that me and him could have, because all of a sudden I fell in love with marketing. I never was related into marketing, but I fell in love with it now. And I keep telling him that I wish me and him would have become on that journey together, because we didn't experience that. And now we have an amazing, another best friend of mine now, Zvika, that leads marketing, that he's a very non-conventional brand person. Mm-hmm. And he builds now, in my eyes, the best brand in e-commerce. Why? Because we are very long-term, and we understand the brand is a long-term thing. Second, I really think that brand building is about understanding the emotional problems of your customers.
Right.
And not the practicality, but not the logic. Logic is not the right playground, but what emotions like they have. And then just find like uber creative ways to continue hammering on those emotions. And I also think the brand is like who you are as like values and culture. And that's another really, really important thing, like to humanize the brand. Like when, like eventually people buy from people and they need to feel like very, at least in e-commerce, I can tell you the buyers are very, they're savvy, they're very direct. So I learned it's really, really important that I'll be in the front, that people will be in the front. And I think like brand building, is a value thing, like really bring your values out. Second, there's no shortcut. You can't build a brand in a day, in a month, in a year. And you can ruin a brand in a month, but you can't build it. So it's a lesson about consistency in the journey, something that I personally now learning. I never was a consistent person. I really love the peak. I like that story and that story and that. Yeah. But now I'm learning like, you know what? It's much more gratifying. Like short-term results come from intensity, but everything long-term results like brand come from consistency. So really try to be consistent on the brand and the stuff that you do. And eventually also have fun with it. Like the best brands are not like too serious, right? They're not too cool for school. It's actually brands that are creative, that are fun, that you feel that they get you.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do.
So that's assuming that that explains all the colorful stuff, explains the flamingo, explains everything else. But tachlis, actually practical. How do you build a brand? Like what were the steps you took? Very nice to talk about brand, but what were the actual practical steps you took in order to go about building a brand?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is you need to have like a good product.
Okay.
Like actually, I think that starts like a product that actually answers a customer problem. And the product needs to be good.
Right.
And there's no other way around it. So if you're like listening and you try to focus on brand, make sure the product. Right. That's one. Second thing is, and we have like amazing product marketing teams at Yotpo that I think really go deep and really understand the customer pain point. And it's not an easy exercise, but really understand, like I'll give you an example. Yotpo in one of our newest products is email marketing for e-commerce. And we're competing there with a phenomenal company named Klaviyo. Really phenomenal, one of the best IPOs, tons of respect to that company. And how do you build a brand when you like it's David versus Goliath? Yeah. They are like a great Goliath, not even. And I think for us, it's about, okay, what are the pain points they have today? But really understand them and go deep there. Don't go to the solution. Stay in the problem. What is the problem? What emotions come from the problem? And then you just need to have like creative people, and you have like amazing creative people, Eli that you met, or Shiri, or Mor, Eliko, Kim, Naama, great people. And you just sit in a room and start thinking about creative ways to solve those emotions and talk about those emotions. And then it's about being consistent and making sure that, I'll give you an example, Yotpo, you're meeting us in like a huge transformation of the brand. We used to be a very aggressive sales company, and now you change in like, it's brick by brick. There's no shortcuts. You need to change how you do sales. You need to change how you do service. You need maybe to even replace people. You need to yourself show them how you're doing that. You need to show them that not to be aggressive. So it takes time, and it again has to be like from an inside out type of a process. But the tachlis of a brand, understand the pain point, understand the emotion from the pain point, be uber creative about it, and be consistent in every touch point with the customer, from the website to sales calls to QBRs with CSMs, to even the all hands deck that I do. And it takes time. We're not there yet. Maybe in a few years when you're going to meet, I'm going to talk about how we actually were able to succeeding. But from the early signs I'm seeing, when people feel it that you care and you're consistent about it and you're not BSing them, they know, the second that you talk to someone and you feel they're selling to you, and it become unauthentic for us, like brutally authentic, it's one of our values. So just build something authentic and be authentic about the brand you're trying to build.
Right. So how do you, with 800 plus employees, how do you make sure that the brand stays authentic across all that? Because you're doing 800 plus employees, you have, I think, how many different offices?
1, 2, 3, 4, probably like 6 or 7.
6, 7. Okay, so I know of Tel Aviv, New York, London, Sydney. Where else?
Toronto, Sofia, Bulgaria,
okay,
and Poland.
Okay,
And now France.
Oh wow, okay. So I was actually just in Sydney 2 months back, and just to give you an example, let's say we'll take the value you just mentioned, brutally authentic. Brutally authentic means one thing to Israelis that will tell you something straight up to their face. It means another thing to Americans that will sugarcoat everything. And it means another thing to Australians, which they'll run away from being brutally authentic. And the French people are just French people,
Yeah.
you know, no offense, but like.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So for me, at least, let's talk about values. It's a bigger conversation. So values is what you tolerate as a company. So for example, if you tolerate politics, becomes part of your values and culture. If you tolerate mediocre products, then it becomes part of your culture and values. And I think when people see how you make decisions, when people see the type of people you hire, and people see what you are willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate, that's what brutally authentic means. And of course, there's like different interpretation, and I don't want to romance it. Of course,
right.
It's very hard on 850 people. I'm not sure we're doing a great job at it. Like it's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing like a struggle, or a challenge. But again, it's about what you tolerate. And we decided when I came back, at least, to change the brand, and we stopped tolerating many things. And we stopped tolerating, for example, sacrificing a long-term effort, or we stopped tolerating not phenomenal customer satisfaction. And then it takes time to change. Right. And change is, another Buddha sentence that change is not painful, resistance to change is painful. And many people have resistance at the beginning, and it takes time. You need to be consistent at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's again, on scale, it's hard, but eventually you attract the people. If you have if you truly are true to your values, it draws certain people, and for certain people it doesn't work, and it's fine. And I just think it's then you get to some kind of like a mojo that it's already part of who we are, right? It's becoming a habit. Like any new thing, you start doing that. At the beginning, it's strange. It doesn't feel natural, but after like 100 times, it's just like part of who we are.
Yeah, I agree. What are some of the unscalable things you guys did to scale up?
In the beginning, many things, still today, but I was like the first support person, and I did alone 24/7 phone support.
Okay.
So my wife makes fun that in our honeymoon, I used to wake up with my eyes closed. Hello, Yotpo support. Hello. How many years? Like 10 years?
Okay.
We are married.
Oh, so that's also another interesting topic to talk about. Go ahead.
Definitely. And it's like, how can I help you? So I think like being very like customer focused myself. I'll give you another example today, this year. One of the things of Yotpo 2.0 and the change that we're going through, I decided that I need to get much closer to the customer. And I decided that I'm going to meet 100 customers face to face this year. I already met, starting from this year, 64 wow. Actually. And probably I'm on pace to meet like more than 300 customers this year. That's unscalable. But we're scaling it. And Asaf, our COO, is probably doing the same. Maybe he's even meeting more than me. And collectively, I think the Yotpo executive this year is going to meet like 2,000 customers. If all of them would be all of our customers across all of our products, Yotpo would probably be like $1 billion ARR company. So we're doing unscalable things, and like you have to do them. I think any event that you want to create a change or you want to build something new, you have to start with unscalable things. Right. That's the only way to go.
So when you look at the trajectory of Yotpo's growth right now, is that through introducing new products? Is that more through acquisitions, like going for like over the next 3-4 years and everything?
Yeah. So actually, Yotpo is an interesting case. We expanded our products with relatively early when we were like $15 million ARR. That was like the first product. And so we have like already now like 4 different products. We have like user generated content where we started, which is reviews and visual. We have like loyalty and referrals. That's like the second product, and email and SMS, which is the newer product that we have. And the TAM is so massive, and that we're going to focus just on the core products. I don't think like if we want to grow, it's going to be through disruption with AI in our core markets, in email and SMS, in loyalty, and in reviews. We might do acquisitions, but in general, I think it's more about winning in our core markets. We have, I know like every douchey founder said, like we're just getting started, but for us, we really, when you look at like the TAM and our penetration, we literally have like so much room to grow, and that's where we're going to grow.
I mean, I think I agree with you. I think it's just amazing that you've been at it for 14 years. You haven't left. There hasn't been a change in the CEO. You haven't like say, hey, you know what? I had enough. I'm burnt out. Like you're still going at this as if it's day one.
Yes. So I think, again, it goes back to the why and meaning. And I can tell you it's not easy. You do have your days, but for me, the people here, and just like I feel because of the Yotpo 2.0, like I'm in a new startup and there's like something new and it's tough. It's not easy. Like if my wife was here, she would tell you, like I have my struggles, but I just think I don't know, I'm not done with the journey. I have like a higher calling maybe. I feel a lot of responsibility, a lot of like true sense of ownership to our customers like we're going to build like a phenomenal company. And that's what I want to do in life. Because if I wasn't in Yotpo, I would probably go and start like a different company. And here at least, like I love our employees. I love our investors. I love the market. So let's see where this is going to take us.
Wow. I would love to ask your wife what it's like being married to you.
Ooh, wow. She would tell me, currently not fun. You're going to a restaurant and she wants to eat a dessert. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to eat berries at home or something like that. But it's a good question. It's actually a good question.
Like, think about it. You said you're married for 11 years now.
Yes.
So 11 years, you got married 3 years into the company. I'm assuming you started dating her before you founded the company?
Yes.
Okay.
2 years. No, we started dating 6 months after I founded the company.
Okay. So those 3 years, you got to count them out.
Yes. 100%.
Like, what was it like the first 2 years of building the company, being married?
So I think it was the time in tech that we didn't really understand what we're doing. Like e-commerce was growing, Shopify was growing, like we had a lot of things going for us. We did like so many mistakes, but I think one, we grew and became like better leaders. That's one. And getting married was like actually fine. I used to like travel so much. I used to do like 17 times a year, US, Israel, which was like really, really tough before we like moved here 8 years ago ish. After my son was born, I didn't want to fly so much not to see him. And that was like maybe the big reason. But actually like my wife was probably like the best thing that ever happened to me. So she was always like a force of multiplier. She always gave me like a lot of strength. Like every once in a while when an entrepreneur consult with me, I want to relocate to the US. What do you think? The first thing I tell them, like, make sure your wife or husband is in a good place. Because if not, I meet so many people where home, is so unstable, then work doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say that if you have to have your home life in order.
Yes.
If you don't have your home life in order, being an entrepreneur, trying to run away from everything is not going to save you from anything.
Exactly.
And you find that unfortunately a lot.
I'm going to use that sentence. Yes.
Anytime. I'm trademarking it.
I'm going to give you credit.
How do you get your kids involved in the startup now? Because your kids are older. Your 3 boys, it's like they come to this office, say, hey, look at daddy's office, this massive full floor in the city. Like, how's it work?
So first, I'll tell a secret to our New York employees. When it's winter, I use this office as a gymboree on Saturday or Sunday, and I take them here and they play here. But more seriously, I don't think they're still like in the journey. I tried one thing with my older kid. So my older kid came to me 6 months ago or a year ago now and told me, Dad, I want like Nike shoes. And I'm like, what did you just say? I want Nike shoes. I said, no, you're getting shoes. You're not getting Nike shoes. And he said, no, I want Nike shoes. And I said, no. I'm like, why do you need Nike? Everyone has Nike. And then I said, okay, maybe let's do a trial. So I opened with him like a Shopify store. It's called like itaicoolstuff.com. You can go and check it out. And he basically made stuff. He wrote like a story. He made like arts and craft. And he's trying to sell it to earn money because I try to bring him as part of the entrepreneurial journey. I try to get them to engage with ChatGPT now and different types of models. But I don't think they are still in the entrepreneurial. They are 8 and 7 and they're like boys monkeys. They're more about now like soccer. They know that I'm an entrepreneur. They ask me like, why do I travel so much and why do I need? So I try to explain that when you lead people, you have like a lot of responsibility and I need to do that. So I'm not sure if they were here. I'm not sure what would they say. But I don't know. We'll see in a few years. What
The best way to hear what they say is that when it comes to like show and tell in actual school, when the teacher goes around saying, "Hey, what does your parents do?"
So I'll tell you a funny story. When my older kid, I think it was in Chabad or first grade. I don't remember if it was kindergarten or first grade. He told me I came to the school for his birthday, and you read a book. So I read a book. Everything's good. And then the teacher comes to me and says, like, I have to ask you a question. And I'm like, yes. Are you really a Formula One driver? And I'm like, no. And then the other kid, the teacher said, I have to ask you a question. Are you really, I think he said like something like a coach in the NBA or something like unrelated completely. So I don't know what they're going to say now. That's my kids.
At least they have a good imagination.
Yes, they do have a great imagination.
Well, tell me some stories of how chutzpah has taken you through certain doors or certain obstacles, limitations, boundaries, and you've been.
Yeah, I think like my entire entrepreneurial journey is a chutzpah. The fact that zero or barely, like I worked at Intel a bit before, but like barely zero experience and actually doing that and talking with a lot of confidence. That's one. Specific cases with like customers. You know what? I'll tell. I don't know if it's chutzpah actually. I just think for me it's more fundamental than chutzpah. Maybe makes it like too shallow, but I really believe that I and the team here can achieve outstanding results without any good reason. But I generally believe that. Right. Like I generally act like that. Like when there's like so how you gonna break into the email and SMS space with like such phenomenal competition? We will. Why? Because that's who we are. Right. So I have a lot of sense of chutzpah or over self-confidence that we can achieve great things, like bigger than life type of things. Same goes to the cancer, by the way. Like, I'm gonna win it. Why? I don't know, because I'm gonna win it. That's what I do. I win things. So it's, I don't want it to sound like in a cocky way, because I think humility is such an important trait, but just having that ingrained, and I can think about like countless examples in the company that people just, yeah, of course we can do that. Yeah, why? I don't know, but we will do that. Of course. We are like overachievers. That's who we are.
It's just incredible to think. I fully agree with that. And there's no reason why you should not think about that. Because if you look at yourself, you're a 26-year-old boy. You had a half a job at Intel for, I don't know, however long.
3 years.
3 years, okay. Totally separate than e-commerce, separate than everything else. You knew nothing about entrepreneurship.
Zero.
And you're sitting here 14 years later running this company.
Yeah.
That really ingrains in the culture of the company, because culture comes.
I actually have a good story on chutzpah. The biggest achievement of my life on chutzpah is my wife. So my wife, I knew her from like a way long time for like a trip in South America. And I fell in love immediately. I knew, like in the fairy tales, that if I'll ever be able to get married to her, I'm going to be the happiest person in the world. But she had a boyfriend. So I stopped, but we came back from the trip and we stayed in touch in a sense. And then she broke up from her boyfriend, and I tried to date her, and she didn't want to. And I tried, and she didn't want to. And then coincidentally, she moved to the same street as I am, and we became neighbors in Tel Aviv. Like the universe sent that to me, and she still didn't want to date. And every time, and then I decided, you know what? I'm going to start writing her stories, and very vulnerable stories. So every week, I used to write her a story. And I'm telling you, if you would read those stories, you would marry me. And she didn't want to marry me. She didn't want to date with me, sorry. And I think after 60, 70 stories, she said, you know what? I give up. You think I'm a fantasy? I'm not. Let's date. You'll see that we're not a great fit. And that was the last first date I had in my life. But that's my biggest chutzpah. She didn't want to date. She didn't want to get married. She didn't want to move in together. She didn't want to bring a kid. And I always was the chutzpah. So that's my wife is probably the biggest achievement of my life in chutzpah. Yes.
You're going to make all the wives that are listening to this will be to their husbands you didn't chase me like that.
No, it was truly my, my friends told me stop it. That's it. Give up. And I just said, you know what? No, because I knew something in me, like knew. I knew that she's like my soulmate in this life.
Speaking about stories, you mentioned you had a good story all in the beginning before we started recording, something about being a mensch.
Yes, no, not being yes. It's like the culture story. I wanted to tell like how I met him, but I think I kind of like told that. So
Okay, gotcha. What would your message be to the world? Because you have an incredible story, an inspiring story, which could be written in a book eventually. Beating cancer twice, building this company, going through COVID, going through the whole technological change. Raising 3 kids, traveling across the world constantly, moving your family across the ocean in order to build a company. So there's so many different types of things. But if you get to the crux of it, what's the core message you want to share with other people?
Wow, I don't know. I'm not sure if people should listen to me. My message, I don't know. Like I think, just like try to be happy, try to do good, like things like try to understand yourself. I think like there are 2 journeys in life that most people do only the first journey. Like you go and see what's out there, you travel, you learn, you walk, you date, you marry. Like you want to see what's out there, what's the world has to offer to me. And I think the second journey is what's inside there, not what's out there. And that's like a much more internal journey to better understand yourself, your soul, who you are as a human being, why you are here, right, what makes good for you. And I think most people that starts the second journey starts it because of trauma. And some people can start it even without the trauma. And I can tell you, for me, like the second journey is a much more interesting journey than the first one. And I highly recommend people just to start their second journey. And if they're on the way, like amazing, keep going at it. Like it's, life is so tough. And I don't know, try to be happy, try to do good. And I'm not sure you even should even listen to me. I feel like I'm such a student. I'm so like early in my journey in life. And they are much more like talented, smart, experienced people than me. But I think, everyone goes through their own journey in life. And I don't know, try to understand what makes you happy. And go at it no matter what people say.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Wow. Tomer, thank you.
No, thank you. This was for me a very emotional conversation. I have to tell you, I had like a lot of fun. I'm not used to like, you're very good in what you do. Really, really good. No, thank you. Really, thank you.
You're welcome, my friend. Wow. This conversation was boom. Mind-blowing. Tomer, thank you. Thank you from the depths of my heart. I am truly inspired. And I know there are many things that I'm going to take and apply to my personal life. And to you, my friend, the listener, please take one thing that Tomer said, whatever it may be, and apply it to your life. Change your life today. I am just inspired. I have no words. This is right after the conversations. I'm just totally inspired. But I have one request from you before you go. Please subscribe and leave a review. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and select that red button, the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, select follow. Now, and one more thing you can do is that if you have a friend that you know can benefit from listening to this episode, please go ahead and share this episode with them so they can get inspired and you will have a part in changing their life. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you again with another incredible episode of another amazing person that is going to change, that is going to inspire and change our life. Thank you.